Hello and welcome to In the Flow with Robin Wilch, your spiritual CFO, and myself, Jessica Kay. And we are here today to bring with you, hopefully, a little bit of wisdom, if nothing else, our experiences. And maybe that will help someone, anyone. I know I learn a lot through listening to other people's experiences and what they've gone through in life and mine it for any gemstones that I can get out of it. So if nothing else, maybe something will land and prove useful to you. So Robin, what's going on?
Whew. You know, I often have these contemplation moments in my life where I just wonder about people who aren't on a spiritual journey, and I'm like, how do they ignore all of the things that are happening in their life? Because I feel like people that are on, when we're on our path, it's like it just seems like, right, it's always that wave, right? We were talking about this earlier, like the energy wave. Um, So it's like following the energy wave of lessons and growth and like what's coming up in this season, right? Where are the planets right now in the sky and what are they kind of activating in us? What am I going to share? So I found myself like being a little frustrated recently, and I know Jessica and I didn't talk about this, but this is coming through to share with y'all. So right now, I started to notice like some irritation and frustration, and then also I was talking to like clients and friends, and they were also like having these weird arguments with people and like this frustration. I was like, oh, I wonder what astrologically is happening right now. So right, Mars I think is square Pluto. Um, so right is creating that tension. Like squares always create tension, and Pluto is the planet of transformation and growth. And then Mars is that like aggressive kind of masculine energy. So a friend of mine who's also a healer, she was talking about how when we are consciously working with Pluto energy, like how much we can transform and like become that phoenix, right? Like really allowing ourselves to go to the depths. And then as we purge, as we process and release, like it allows us to shoot up much higher and like yeah, just much higher. But if you're fighting against that Pluto energy, it's going to be like your biggest source of irritation and hell. And it's like, I mean, you can't fight against Pluto, right? Like Pluto is that slow moving energy that just kind of grates on you over time. So it's like you might as well go along for the ride. Yeah, what about you, Jessica? How you been lately?
Well, and I just want to tack onto that. Like that's for me the whole purpose of astrology. Like tell me what's going on so I can see where is the planetary cosmic energy supporting my life and shifting. That's how I view it. Like, oh, this is going to happen, so we're either going to get on the bus or we're going to get run over by the bus. And so that's where for me it's like you said with that frustration. Okay, I'm having a little frustration. Let me look at that. Let me look at what areas are trying to be transformed. Where is that landing in my chart? Where am I being called to add transformation? And I know for you and I, we were just talking earlier about some different things, and I've started listening to myself when I say things. And that has been like this huge source of insight for me is actually listening to what I said. I've, as we all know, I talk a lot about the nervous system and how we can manage that to feel better in our day to day. And even with working with that, I've been feeling a mental load. So I was in a team at work recently talking about like, yeah, like I don't think you all understand the mental load that I've had in carrying all of this information for the last 3 months. And when I said it, it was like I'm informing them, but it's like, oh yeah, Jessica, you've been doing this. So that's been my last week or so is how am I addressing the mental load that I'm carrying around that's making me exhausted? Like, what are some
Mhm.
things that I can do to help ease the mental load? And honestly, I haven't found the perfect solution, But for me, the solution is like, how do I get it out of my mind and written down somewhere where I can work on whatever it is? Or, it's like, oh, I don't have to have that running in my RAM. My RAM is not all maxed out. Like I can just dump it onto a piece of paper and use that as a checklist. So working on my mental load, that's really where I've been at. Like, how do I take off the pressure in the different ways that it's showing up so that I have more time and energy to do things that I love? Um, and also, it's interesting because I have been working a lot with the mind. So maybe this is where I'll have to look and see where my Pluto is and where all
Mm,
this Pluto and Mars is happening, because I've found that I'm finding a lot of transformational awareness around my mind.
mm,
And like, okay, easing my mental load. Where am I giving myself a hard time? How can I release the pressure? And and as I like put my finger on it and say, okay, this is what's happening, all of a sudden it's like here's a solution. So this has been patterns I've had my entire life that now I'm finding solutions to help unwind them. And that's where back to the first thing you said, like for me, there is no option but the spiritual path because I don't want to feel like I'm a victim of what's happening to me. Like I'm always like, I know that there's something that I can do, whether it's to surrender or to move forward. Like there's something that my energy can
mm,
be used for to help shift. So
mm-hmm.
that's where it's like there is the acceptance of things that are happening, and maybe that is what I need to do is accept it. But there's always like accept, surrender, move forward. Like, how do I flow with that energy and use it to help improve myself and to help me gain awareness and clarity?
Yeah, it's I feel like that the whole like what are we accepting versus what can we change? So I think having that sense of curiosity, like so just asking the question, I think sometimes is so powerful, right? Like I posed a question. I think I actually asked a friend like, "Hey, do you know what's happening astrologically?" Because I don't always keep up on it. I kind of like let the universe inform me sometimes because there's always something going on, right? But it's like which energy is actually pertinent to me and like my community. And as soon as I asked her the question, she wasn't able to respond back to me, but I heard it from somewhere else. And I was like, oh, thanks, universe. And then a couple days later, I told her, I was like, hey, by the way, this is what I heard. And then she goes, right after you sent that to me, a friend also sent me the same information. So it's like she also needed to hear this energy. So it's like I love when we kind of follow the breadcrumbs and like the intuitive nudges that we get to like reach out to people or to share something. um so asking the question is actually like very powerful. um and just releasing that, like not feeling like we have to figure it out. That's I feel like that's one that I can lean on because I'm a person that I want to understand things. I want to have um yeah, I just always want to understand things. I'm sure if my which I don't really think my parents would have been keen on this, but I probably would have been the kid that was like always asking questions. So now like as I've gotten older, it's something I've embraced. But be curious about things, like ask the question. It doesn't hurt just to kind of have that mindset. The other thing that Jessica was sharing about the mental load, um, I think it's something that we can take for granted. Like I certainly have for a long time. So I am somebody that has struggled a lot with like overthinking, which creates anxiety. It's like this whole pattern for me that I'm like continuing to work on. Um, but what has come to me recently, and I've been really excited about this because I know that right, just creating this opportunity for a new possibility means that like this shift is coming for me because right, if I've always been in worry and I haven't for a long time, I didn't even know I was doing it. So then like creating the awareness, like, oh wow, I'm in that worry, or I'm in that like overthinking. And now the thing that has been making itself known to me is like how much of my energy I use with that, right? And how tiring it is. And I'm like, now I'm starting to tune into, when I change that pattern of like over worry or overthinking, what is that going to free up for me mentally? I'm like, wow, like what am I going to be able to spend that energy on? Like that's really amazing. So I'm like being curious about that. Like now that I'm going to have all this mental space and it's freeing up all this like mental capacity and mental load, like what am I going to be able to use that energy for? That's really exciting. Like I can create with that energy. I can, which I've already started to notice, like as I'm continuing to like to just shift that pattern and not overthink. I'm like, oh, I can consciously do that by choosing to create something instead of mentally masturbating, like, oh my God, well, what's going to happen? So I'm like, oh, I'm stopping myself. Let me create something instead. Um, so it is, I think we take for granted just how much that um, mental load and that mental capacity, like, right? How don't they say that our brain uses like 70 or 80% of like the calories that we take in or something crazy like that? It's kind of interesting. Have you ever read that?
I haven't, but it totally makes sense. Like it
Yeah,
totally
I
makes,
don't know if it's that high, but yeah, if it's like proportionately, it's like way out of whack compared to like how much weight our brain carries in our body.
yeah. Well, and I
Yeah.
know that the interestingly enough, the dementia has been linked to how we metabolize sugars and stuff. So
Mm,
the metabolism of the brain and all of that makes me think like, oh, if we're using our brain to really metabolize things, to be creative, like how does that shifting from like spinning and worry, how does that affect how our brain's
mm,
working? And then, creativity leads to neuroplasticity because we are creating something new or different or being curious. And that allows our brain to tap into what we don't know. All of this is about creating pathways around, engaging with the world, being curious about the world, and becoming comfortable with the unknown. Because if you think about it, like, where does a lot of our issues around safety, around change, around transformation, all that is like not being comfortable with what is not known. When we're curious, we can really start tapping into being comfortable and not only comfortable, but excited about what we don't know. Like, I have no clue what's going to happen, but I'm really excited to find out. And we
yeah.
start shifting some of those fight or flight things. We shift how our brain functions and we really open to the flow of life. Because then when we're uncomfortable, it's like, oh, we're stopping up the flow. So, oh, this thing is happening and I'm not certain what's going to happen, and we constrict. So by
Hmm.
being curious, we are shifting to openness. And that, has far reaching, I'm not going to say it's going to cure dementia, but in the same
I
token,
mean, it might.
it might if you're increasing
Yeah.
neuroplasticity now. How much energy does it take to sit back in the present moment in awe of what's happening? Like it's a very receptive way to approach the world as opposed to like putting the energy out. So it takes less energy. So all of this to say better brain health, better cognitive health through being curious and asking questions because that it's also like asking the question and not expecting an immediate answer. Like sit
Hmm.
in the wonderment of you ask this question. And I've noticed when there's a really good question, like either I've come up with a really good question or I've heard a really good question, my mind just stops. Like it's not even about thinking. Like on a cellular level, things start shifting. Like an
Mm.
awareness starts bubbling up from this wisdom that we all contain within ourselves. So it's like, how can I tap into that visceral feeling of wisdom in my being, tapping into that divine and just allowing it to move through and flow and inform me in ways that are not mental?
Yeah. It's so Jessica and I were chatting about this a little bit before, and it's kind of tying in with what we're talking about now. Like, so we've both had some transitions in our careers lately. And it's cool if and right, you can do this in like any area of your life or any facet of your life where you feel like you have a big project or you feel like you're managing like a lot of moving parts. So it's like just starting to write those things down and like doing kind of a brain dump and getting out of your head and like onto paper. And if you can just be patient and not feel like you have to resolve all of those things now, like just noticing how things will start to, it's almost like a way of like surrendering it to the universe. And then the universe will start to like, right, somebody will randomly take care of something on your list. You can cry. I was doing that today, like just, oh, okay, that got taken care of. Um, this other thing I realized actually Like it's something that could be looked at or fixed, but I don't need it on my radar right now. I'm going to cross that off. I was able to cross up a few things that I did. So it's like when you're in that state of like allowance and just curiosity, like you also start to allow different resources and possibilities. And like the energy of the universe will kind of start to flow in that direction. And it's funny, I have this book and I've been trying to, somebody told me about this a couple years ago and I read it once and I keep meaning to read it again, but it's called Hiring the Heavens and it's by Gene Slatter, Slattr. But it's like having a really deep, like working relationship with your angels and your guides. So, right, like typically we feel like if we have a project, like we feel like we're doing it all ourselves, but it's like incorporating the help of your unseen team, right? Your unseen angels, your guides, whatever you want to call them. And it, right, it's part of that. It's like, all right, I have all these things, I have these goals, I have these dreams, desires, whatever. Like, let me kind of create the space for things to happen that don't simply rely on my limited capacity as one person, which again is like, that's kind of badass, right? When you're taking that old mental way of being like, I have to figure this out. I have to like overthink it. I have to like figure it out by myself, which I feel like is such an energy shift that we're going now too with like the age of Aquarius. It's like we're having to lean more on other people. We're having to like allow other resources to support us. There's just so many things happening in life. And like, there's just so much more that we're managing now than back in, we were in caveman days or whatever. So it's like we have to start to allow these other energies and resources to come in rather than feeling like we have to figure it out by ourselves. It's just fascinating. I love the shit that we talk about. I don't know, Jess, can like kind of go down these again, like us just following the energy and the flow. It's like we're not like rigidly stuck on what's coming through. We're like allowing that energy to flow through and like, oh, okay, like what wants to come up as a topic today? What do we want to chat about?
Well, and I love what you're talking about because when you start writing those things down, you're being curious, you're even doing a mind dump. It's like intentionality and clarity. That's what kept coming through. Like, what
Mm,
are you doing? You're engaging in an exercise that helps you get really clear about what's important. And when you highlight that, that's creating that intentionality and that energy behind that thing. So you're activating this and saying, this is important for me. I've gotten real clear about what's important and what's not. This is important and I want it to be addressed in whatever way. And then also this idea of where is the energy flowing? And Robin and I were talking about that earlier. Like, I can't tell you how many times, and I've really just started leaning into it and gotten really comfortable with it, where I will have this huge list of things to do, and I have prioritized this thing as like number 55. And that's the thing I'm doing right now because it's like, that's exciting. It's fun. Like, I want to do this thing. And when I first started doing it, it freaked me out a little bit because I would like get caught up in doing it. I'm like, oh shoot, I need to do this other thing. But what I realized is when I allowed myself to move with the energy, 1 through 54 like got done, whether it was like, oh, I don't mind doing that now, or somebody else did it. And I was able to put my energy towards like that number 55 thing, or even in working relationships. A lot of my in Gene Keys, a lot of my placements are twos, which are working with others, working in partnership. Like it's just like this huge stretch, even when we look at my astrological chart. I was really good in past lives, like taking care of myself and being an individual. And this life is about relationships, relationships in where I work, relationships at home. Like it's in those one-to-one relationships. And so being the hugely independent person that I am, if stuff wasn't moving at my pace, I'd be like, I'm done with that. And I would just keep trucking along. And so I'm really stretching and leaning into this fact that I need to be learning through partnerships, working with feedback. And so that's required, like where my impulse may be like, we need to get this done now. It's like I lean into the energy and it's like, wow, that energy is exactly where it needs to be right in this moment. Like, We are just chugging along exactly at the right space. So that's where I have to sit with myself and say, it's okay. I know there's a part of me that wants to just do this on my own, but the lesson is how can I merge together in relationships and really create a bigger impact? So that's where that's been a great not test, but a great stretch. Like my desire may be to do this, but when I lean into the energy, like, oh, I'm right on time. And it's not to move forward and to force and to push. It's to surrender and accept and to flow with that energy. So I've been doing that more and more and more is like, okay, where's the energy? How do I need to move? And allowing that to guide me,
Hmm.
even when it may not make any logical sense. Like I talk to someone, they're like, well, you should blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yes, logically, somebody should do this. You know, I'm a therapist. So a therapist would say, this is a good boundary. Like all of these things, all of these mental constructs, all of these shoulds, like this is how society says, but really stopping and leaning in. Like, I'm not going to think it through, I'm going to feel it through. Leaning in,
Mm.
this is where the energy is, and I'm right on target. There's nothing to be done here. And then just being okay with that, like being okay with not doing what everybody else thinks I should be doing, not doing what I think I should be doing, but what I feel and know to be correct in that moment.
Yeah, that's been such a journey for me as well. Like I used to be I had a lot of issues with control. Like when I was younger, it was conditioning and then also like partially kind of probably how I'm wired. Because I'm Capricorn rising. So it's like, everything needs to be like done on a schedule and whatever. So, the universe had to break me of that. And definitely it was challenging while that pattern was being broken. But now it's like when you're in that flow, it's actually things are so much easier. Like if you can lean into that energy, just what Jessica was saying, it's like if you're trying to force something to get done in this moment and it's not actually time for that thing to get done, you're going to continue to encounter like bumps and challenges and like, oh, but whatever it is. Um, but if you're like following the flow of that energy, like, oh, actually, this is number 54 on my list. Let me do that now. The energy is actually like taking you in that direction. So, right, you also have to use your discernment because sometimes, we could be avoiding something that needs to get done, or, there are other factors that kind of play in. But I feel like, right, for the most part, being in that sense of like, where is this universal flow taking me? Kind of checking in with yourself, like, am I doing this from a place of allowing and following? And the other thing that I'm learning, like, I think that I want to continue to lean more towards, okay, even if I realize this is a mistake later on, like I'm learning so much from it, so even if I should have done number 32 first, it's like, well, I didn't. And what did I learn by doing number 52 now? Maybe the universe actually had you do that because you were meant to learn that lesson about it. Um, I continue to hear from my guides, like, you have far less control over anything in your life than you actually think you do. The things that we think we have so much power and control over, it's like we really have control over. Honestly, the thing that I think we have control over is like our perspective about things. It's like, are we choosing to have that sense of gratitude? So, like with all this frustration energy, I found myself over the weekend. I'm a pretty happy person most of the time, right? I'm still a human being. I still have all the other emotions, but for the most part, like I'm a pretty, like joyful person. And I found myself, I was so mad at God, universe, spirit, whatever you want to call it. I was just so like annoyed with like, why does this have to be this way in my life? I was like just on, the 2-year old like temper tantrum train. And then I saw this video online, and I love this dude. Like, I've caught him a couple of times. I don't even know what his name is, but he was like remembering to come back to that space of like just deep gratitude over there's this energy that loves me so much, that wants the best for me so much, that it will let me sit there and bitch and moan and whine because things aren't the way that I want them to be. But it loves me so much that it will continue. It'll allow me to have those feelings. It'll allow me to sit there and whine and, gripe about it and still lovingly guide me in this other direction or in this situation that I don't want to be in, right? Because that energy knows that that's actually going to be the most liberating thing for us, that it's going to be the thing that's going to create the most joy and the most happiness. Like it may not in the moment, but right long term, that's what's going to be the thing that's like going to help us to evolve and grow and like to be the best version of ourselves. And I just started to like, I sent it to myself and I've been listening to it like, just when I feel like that frustration, and I'm like, okay, like I have to remember, right? Things are not always going to be the way that I want them to be. It's like, how much can I lean into this universal energy and like where it's taking me and where it's leading me in my life? Like I don't have to trust. I can choose not to. I choose to want to trust that, that there is this energy that loves me and is like guiding me. So, and to me, if you make yourself aware of it, you can start to feel it, right? I mean, it's life, whatever you want to call it, whatever label you want to put on it. It's like it is the flow of life. Yeah. So I mean, have you been feeling like any of that frustration or with any of that Mars and Pluto?
I felt it, and it's interesting too because I've had friends that are just like, I'm so angry and I'm never angry. And I think it's also like, yes, there is planetary alignments that are leading us to feel things. A lot of the stuff we're feeling is definitely there's a piece of us that resonates with us, or else we wouldn't be feeling it. I also feel like a lot of it, there's a lot of that ancestral energy behind it. So it's like there's so
Mm.
much momentum that it's not going to do anything but come up. And it's also beyond the astrological, the ancestral. I feel like there's this beautiful place where the universe is giving us an opportunity to be present with whatever shows up and to love ourselves. So, like, so where the stretch is, can you be with yourself when you feel like that angry 2-year-old throwing a tantrum? Can you love yourself through that energy? Can you love yourself when you're so angry you don't know what to do with yourself? Is there a way to find humor? And that's where my friend and she's like, I'm so angry and I'm never angry and I don't know what to do about it. And it's just so funny. Like, it was so funny for her to say that to me. And I just started laughing. She's like, I know, it's so ridiculous, isn't it? And then she started laughing. It's like, and that I wasn't mocking her. I love her so much and I was being supportive of her and like I could feel her frustration. And also it's just like so interesting because sometimes when emotion comes through me, I just feel ridiculous. And it's like what is going on here? Like this is so not energy that I usually feel and it just feels strange. So it's like, can we feel that energy? Is there a way to find humor? Is there a way to accept it? Is there a way to allow it? Is there a way to even embrace it? And even, Robin, you and I did an exercise earlier today where it was like, I have this feeling inside my body and it feels like pressure and bad. And it also feels like expansion and good. And like, so how can we sit with both of those inside of our being and just step back and hold space for whatever this vehicle is going through? Like it could be anger, it could be happiness, it could be like sorrow. I remember a time in my life where I just cried for like a month straight. I would just randomly start crying. I would be walking through the store and I would just start crying in the store. So I'm like, okay, I'm crying. So I'm crying and I'm walking through the store and I'm like waving at people. I'm crying. I'm at the teller and, oh, how are you doing? I'm doing great. And I'm crying. And it was just literally like for like a month straight, it didn't matter. And I'm not somebody who cries a whole lot, but I was just like, okay, I'm going to accept the fact that I'm just going to burst into tears at any given moment. And that's what's happening. Like, I'm not going to take it personally. I'm going to hold space for myself. So when we can just sit with whatever emotion is moving through, whatever state of mind is moving through, and just allow it, I feel like there's so much liberation and acceptance. Like oh, if I can do that for me, I can do it for someone else. And if I can do it for someone else, I can do it for me. So we tend to have a problem either doing it for ourselves or others. So it's like, okay, where's that stretch? And I found that the more I'm able to do it, there are people that I've had a difficult time with. And I've just sat there and been like, okay, I know that I have a difficult time with this person. I'm going to lunch with them today. So I'm just going to sit there and I'm going to open to whatever is here. I'm just going to be with it. And it's so amazing. Like, does that mean my mind's not back there judging? No, the mind's doing what it does, but I've decided, I have set my intention that I'm going to be present and I'm going to be open and loving no matter what happens. And when we can be intentional on purpose about things like that, like it's almost like gears shifted in my being. And after that, I was able to be kinder to myself. So it's like wherever we can allow that stretch in, let it in. And it will have this kind of domino effect. And I feel like that's what's happening right now is right now with the astrology, with what's happening in the world, with what's going on, we have this like amazing portal where our actions, when we're working with the mind, actually are like lasting. Like we can make lasting little incremental changes that have huge impacts for how we move in the world. And that's where it's like, grab a hold of it now. Like, even if it's a little bit, because it's going to have huge ramifications for you moving forward and grounding that energy. And it's like, oh my God, the expansiveness I felt, even though the last couple of weeks have been really, really difficult, like some of the most difficult times in the last couple of years, I've also had some of the most growth that I've had, exponential growth. And it's exciting. It's exciting.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, I love what you were talking about. Like, I feel like you're so good at like things that we can want to lean away from. Like, you're really good at leaning into them. Like I love what you were saying, like, oh, I'm struggling with this person. It's like Jesus, right? Didn't Jesus do that shit where it's like, I'm gonna go sit down and like have a meal with this person, this person that I just want to like jump across the table and you know, do bodily harm to. Nope, I'm actually just gonna love them and like, break bread with them and have a moment. So thank you for that. I feel like and it's funny because that came up. Somebody else kind of shared a similar thing with me recently. So it really is like there's this came up as you were sharing. There's a Matt Kahn talk. I think it's like a fairly old one. Everything is here to help. And I found that one, I don't like probably almost 10 years ago. And it's one that I would listen to just every couple of years. Like it would kind of pop up, and I feel like I probably need to listen to it again. But it's like those things that we get frustrated by, or the people, or the places, or the situations. And we're like, why is this happening? Right. We're in like that 2-year-old temper tantrum. Like, why is this happening? Because it's here to help you, right? Like we live in this loving universe. We're here to heal. We're here to experience. We're here to do all the things. It's like, it's not all going to be rainbows and unicorns. So it's like, how can I lean into this energy, into this experience rather than fighting against it? And actually, which is so annoying, right? It's like when you stop fighting against it, when you just allow yourself to be with it, it shifts the energy like so much quicker. When we're like, okay, universe, like I know this is here for a reason. Please show me. Right. And just allowing yourself to be curious, like, okay, I know this is here for a reason. Please show me. Please help me. Please, right. Please help me to accept. That's been a big one for me lately. Like, I'll just call in the energy of acceptance, like, and call it into my body with something that I'm struggling with. Like, okay, can you just please help me to accept this the way that it is right now in this moment? That's really powerful too, right? Like feeling that in your body, like, I don't like the way this feels. I don't want to freaking be here. I'm so annoyed by this. I'm so annoyed by this person, this place, this situation, whatever it is. I'm annoyed. I'm feeling that, but I'm also feeling acceptance, right? Like having those, that's like some badassery, right? Like being able to have those opposing energies and those opposing emotions in your body and just to allow them to be there. Cause, right, we can have so many different emotions happening at the same time. um, I think that also can create, and I do need to listen to that Matt Kahn talk again because it has been coming up for me lately. I feel like that's an energy that comes up for me fairly, which I'm curious why it does. Like frustration for me is can be a thing. Probably because my Chiron. So Chiron is like um your wound in your chart. Like Chiron is next to my Mars, which is that like can be that frustrated energy. So I heard somebody say that when we're feeling frustrated, we're not allowing, maybe it was Matt Kahn actually, that we're not allowing ourselves to see the other options that are out there, the other possibilities that are out there, right? Like we're kind of limiting ourselves to like, whatever. So that's another kind of perspective spin to like bring to it. Like if I'm feeling frustrated, what am I not seeing about this situation, or what am I not allowing? Um, what possibilities am I not allowing into this situation? And just again, asking the question and not feeling like you have to like fill the blanks, just asking the universe, like, what am I not seeing here? Yeah.
Well, that's about like frustration is kind of that like hitting your head against a wall energy. And so when you pull back, you realize, oh, there's a door right here. Right? So, and it's all in therapy, we talk about the third door. Like
Mm,
you've got two people that see things one way. It's like, oh, well, it's either this or that. And it's like, where's the third door? So
mm,
all of this it's interesting because this all has to, it's like we're coming full circle. This has to do with mental flexibility.
mm,
Believe that there's only two options, but there's really like there's the third door, there's three or more. So it's that curiosity, it's that flexibility. So it's like, well, this is here you go, ma'am. And it's like, yeah, I don't have to accept what's put in front of me. Like that's the other thing. Like what all is happening here? Like, oh well,
mm,
maybe I don't want to pay $2,000 for that water heater and I'll go over here and pay 1,000. Like but maybe I will go pay the 2,000 because that's a better option. So when we look around, like sometimes when we're presented with something, that's exactly what we need to have, but we may not want it. So it's like, okay, well, look around and like, oh, wait, that is exactly what I needed. Sometimes it's not. So it's like, where are the lessons? And that's where, you said, oh, well, Jessica, you're so accepting of stuff. And I used to be the person that would push away everything. Like, I want this, I'm not accepting anything less. And it's this process, it's everything we've been talking about right now: curiosity, acceptance, all of these different things have allowed my mind to shift in ways that I know if something is coming up and upsetting me, like there is a lesson behind that. And it used to show up in like threes, and now I don't need threes. Now one's enough. Like, okay, I'm having issues, and I know that I may not understand it, but I know there's something else going on. So help me, that's actually the conversation that Robin and I had tonight. Hey, Robin, I need to find some clarity around this because I don't understand it. So help me move in the direction of clarity so that I know how to move forward. And for me, that's often what's happened is like, okay, I don't understand what's happening. Like, I don't understand what's been put in front of me. Like, if I can understand it a little bit better, whether that's feel into it, think into it, whatever. If there's more, I need more information, then I know whether I want to accept this or I want to see if there's a third door or like I know where to move when I get more information. So that's the other thing. Like I'm curious and I'm always looking like, okay, I don't understand what's happening here. So it's not like I know, because I used to know, like I know and I feel this way and I'm judging and I'm trying to control it. And now it's like, I have no clue. Like in this world, I know this much. I have no clue what's going on. So I'm going to look for more information to help me understand so I know how to move forward. And that's kind of my default now. Like instead of like going in and attacking, I'm like, let me back up and let me
mm,
get a broader view. So that's that frustration is like bang, 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 bang. So I'll do that. I'll knock my head up against it. It's like, oh, okay, let me get more information. Let me see what my options are. Maybe that's not really made out of concrete. It's really cardboard. Like just get more information and be open to things being different. And that's the other piece. Like Have I decided that it's going to be like this and create a self-fulfilling prophecy? Or
Mm,
am I going to create space enough to allow it to change? And that even goes like where you said, you know, all these emotions. So whether we realize it or not, we have tons of conflicting energies going on inside our bodies. There are parts of us that feel great and parts of us that don't feel great. And the body may hurt, but the body may feel good here. So it's like we are constantly housing all of this stuff inside of us. So can we create the space to sit with it and observe it and allow it and say, oh, wow, like when I think about doing this, I get really excited. And there's also a part that's not okay with it. Like, can I allow them both and then see what happens? And when we allow space, then the energies can alchemize and create something new. And that goes all the way back to Pluto and Mars. We are being pushed to allow the transformation of these energies, whether they are ours, whether they are our ancestors, whether they are in the environment. So the question to you is, can you allow the space? Can you allow yourself the freedom and the acceptance to experience whatever is showing up and just sit with it and not
mm.
feel the need to change it and allow the energy to mix and shift on its own or to not, to just be there and observe it for what it is?
You know what's interesting? Well, first I want to share because smell is like such a thing to me. I've been smelling my lemongrass. So I don't, maybe somebody out there needs some lemongrass. I don't know. Like I feel like it always makes me happy when I smell lemongrass. So lather some essential oils all over yourselves. Anyway, um, as you were sharing, I'm not just over here sniffing myself, but I also do that sometimes. Anyway, um, okay, you were talking about the ancestral energy, and I don't know if I've ever realized this about Pluto, but I feel like the reason that Pluto is like so deeply transformative, right, as a planetary energy is because of how slowly it moves. So it takes like 248 years for it to go around all 12 signs, right, and the whole zodiac wheel. So where Pluto is now, like it's never been that in that same place in your lifetime, right? Like it might be because of retrogrades or whatever, but for all intents and purposes, like it's never been in that place. So the last time it was in that energy, it's with your ancestors, like, you know, way back into history. So it's also makes sense as to why these patterns and these cycles, like even if we haven't experienced them in our lifetimes, like right, it's in our DNA, it's in our ancestral lineage, whatever you want to call it, and our energetic imprint. Like, so we're healing the things that we came here to heal, but then also the things that we're struggling with. Like, I forget how you said it earlier, but it kind of reminds me of like, I like the way you said it better. But Mickey Singer talks about it a lot too, with like, how there's so many millions of years of like um, things that have happened to get us to this moment in time. And it's like when we try to fight against that, you can't fight against that, right? Like you have all of these things are happening right now because of these other 8 million things that happened before you were ever even here. So it's like you're not going to be able to fight that flow of energy. It's like you have to just show up and like you said, right? Is this something that I need to step back from, see if there's like other possibilities? I mean, we still have choice, we still have free will. It's not like we're just, thrown about by the universe, but I believe, right? Like if you're somehow able to extricate yourself from a situation before you have actually learned the lesson, you're just going to manifest it again in a different person, in a different place, in a different situation. The parts and the pieces might look different, right? The players might look different. They might start out feeling different to you, but the same themes are going to come up, right? It's like these wounds and these energies, they want to be healed. They want to come into wholeness. They want the light to be brought into them. So it's like our soul is always going to be seeking this healing and this and especially for people who aren't conscious either, it's like it's still happening for them, they just don't have the awareness of it. So I don't know, it's fascinating, all of this shit's fascinating to me. It's right how our psyche is always trying to, psyche, soul, whatever, right, it's probably a combination, like we're always wanting to repeat these things until we have some sense of healing around it. Right. What is that in psychology, Jessica? Like, I mean, I'm sure it's like a subconscious kind of programming, but is it also like a, an innateness in your energy that wants to like heal, or what, how do they look at that in psychology?
Well, I mean, it's the idea of like it kind of thinking about it psychologically, it's like the idea of PTSD, right? There is events that are looping in your mind and they want to be processed. So whenever you're able, so it's going to keep, you're going to continue to be triggered to heal it until that there is resolution. So some people, never have that resolution. Uh, and you can have that resolution no matter what happened to you, what you experienced. It is about love and acceptance and forgiveness. And I know when I say these things, it triggers a lot of people. And I say that out of my own personal experience, of my own healing journey, and of also working with hundreds, I'd probably say hundreds of people at this point around these things. And it's like, you know, we, when we're able to show up for our healing, we do. Because there's also times where it's like, there's stuff showing up and I can't meet it. I don't have the energy to meet it right now. So that's okay. Like you just allow it to pass. Like, okay, I can't deal with this. Okay. But at some point, you know, it will show up and we will be able to meet it. And it's like, okay, can I meet it with love, acceptance, and allowance? Because it's like, is there, so I'm big on reframing things. So it's like, oh, I had a flashback. So when you have a flashback or a panic attack, it feels like something's happening to you. Like something is happening to me. And it's very visceral. You feel out of control, even physically. However, what if that is the psyche saying, can we do this now? Can we heal this now? I want this to be healed. So if we think about it, there's a book called Body Keeps the Score. It's by a famous psychologist. But it's the idea that our spirit, our being in our body goes through these events. And then, when we dissociate or whatever, we just kind of shove it into the body somewhere. So it's like, is that pain in your shoulder really a pain in your shoulder? Or is it stored emotion? And some people would say every pain in your body is stored emotion. So I'm never like an extreme person. So it's like, is that always true? But if we're willing to explore that and go into that pain, so this is the other thing. It's where it's like, okay, I got tired of being triggered all the time. Somebody said, "Will you sit with your body?" And I was like, okay. And then I was like, I don't know what I signed up for, but like every day I take time to sit with myself and say, okay, I have a pain here. Can I go into it and unpack the memory? And everywhere I have discomfort in my body, if I go into it, there's a memory that I unpack. Am I able to do it perfect every time? No, but every time I find something and it's like, oh, okay, let me unpack this. Let me process it, show it love, allow it, accept it, be able to move with the energy of that. And when I'm able to do that, the pain resolves and I feel lighter. And so then I don't get triggered by that anymore. It doesn't mean that there's not something else that comes up for me to address, intrusive thought, but I'm able to process that. And that's where that somatic therapy comes in. So all of this to say, I don't even know how we got, I don't know how we got here, but
I love it.
that's the psychological thing of it is we're going to keep our spirit and our body want to be whole.
Mm.
So it's going to keep coming up, whether you like it or not. It's going to come up. So that's where, what's the solution? Create a space for your body and soul to heal, whether it's 5 minutes a day. And when you do that, then it's like, okay, we know that you're going to give us space and time. And it'll reduce the likelihood that you're going to get it randomly showing up. If you don't create time, it's going to come through whenever it gets triggered. And that's how we can, once again, do things with loving and accepting and allowing. And it's not easy to do by ourselves either. So that's where there are therapists and there are, places and people to work with that can help you work through this stuff because it's not easy and it's really hard, especially if you've never done it before.
Mhm.
But it can be different. Anything that presents to us, it can be different. So being curious about finding ways for it to be different and for that energy, because the energy wants to move. So it's just going to keep hitting up against that blockage until you sit with that blockage and allow it to open. And then the energy can move to the next. And, it's just this process of unwinding.
Yeah, and the thing that's coming through is like that correlation between safety, right? Like you can't be over in the middle of a war and be processing trauma, right? Like your body, your energy isn't safe enough. It's like so the more that we create that safety with our nervous system, with our energy, and like we allow ourselves to feel safe, like in the emotions and the experiences that we're having, that is what allows us to go deeper into our healing, right? Like the more safety that you're creating, that's why we tend to have the spiral with healing, right? Where it's like, oh my God, I already worked on this thing. Well, it's like, yeah, you worked on it here, but now that you're more safe in your body, we're actually going to get down to like this deeper level of it. Because right, we tend to have and it's annoying as shit. I know, trust me. I'm over listening to my shit. I'm like, I've already talked about this 8 million times. Like, how many more times is this going to come up? But that's why, because it's like these themes that kind of circle, which is why I love astrology, because astrology can just give you so much information about, the patterns and the energies that you're healing. Um,
Well, and you bring up a
right.
good point. It's exactly that. Like I said, there's times and places where it's not appropriate for us to be diving into this stuff. And we need to listen to that when you're not emotionally, physically, spiritually safe. You're not going to have the space to do it. And like you said, when you're in a war, when you're in an abusive relationship, that's not the place. Survival is going to be number one, and that's what you need to focus on. And then when we're able to have our physical, emotional, spiritual safety needs met, that's where it's going to come up. So that's where I hear people say, Jessica, I'm doing so well. Why is this happening? It's like, because you're finally in a place where your body can let go and can allow that trauma to come to the top and to be processed. So you're not, it's all compartmentalized. It's not going to come out unless you're in a place for there to be healing. And I will also say I have had experience with people whose life is so dysfunctional and very dangerous and it's still coming up. So you can only truly heal and process when you're safe. You do not need to unpack this stuff when you're not. And it is best to do it with a trained therapist. Like I'm just going to say that right now. You need to have somebody to help you and work with you. I've worked with therapists off and on. Robin's worked with therapists off and on. This is not someplace to go on your own. There are skills to learn, there's safety to be held, there's neuroregulation between, co-regulation. So get somebody who is a professional to help you with this and allow that process to unfold.
Yeah. Yeah. Make sure y'all are being, the thing that just keeps coming back is like having that compassion and that gentleness with ourselves because this shit's not easy. Like, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, it is, to me, it is and it isn't, I would much rather be on a spiritual journey, like actively looking at my stuff, but sometimes it does just get a little, it's like, oh my God, really? Like, we have to with the lessons again. The other thing I'll say, because this has popped up a few times, um, and if, right, anything that I ever say, if you don't believe it, you don't have to, right? Like we all have free will. I'm just a person on the interwebs talking out of my ass. What do I know? Um, this is just something I've realized for myself. If it resonates, I feel like when you are on a deep healing journey, like, right, Jessica and I are, a lot of people that we know, a lot of healers, like a lot of people who tend to be like really deep into spirituality. I believe that part of the reason that it can be challenging for us is that we're also healing for the collective, right? We're healing for those people who don't have the safety to move through some of this stuff. We're healing for our ancestors. We're healing for like people who don't have the awareness, right? They are in those traumatic situations and they don't have the mental or the financial or the like the spiritual awareness or anything that they would need to actually move through that energy in a safe way. Like I can't tell you the number of times that I've processed shit, especially early on in my journey, that I'm like, I don't like, I've never had this situation happen to me. I've never had this memory. And like, I could intuitively tell them, like, this isn't mine. Like, this is somebody else's stuff that either I picked up or that I'm meant to be processing for them. So I think that's the other important thing to remember is like giving yourself grace that if you're on this level of healing, you're probably also healing for the collective, right? Because we're all connected, we're all intertwined. There's so many things that we don't understand about, healing and like this connection that we have between us. So that's just, I'd be curious to know if like y'all have had that experience or if it's something you've other people that I've talked to, like again, that are kind of on this depth of spiritual journey, like have shared that they have, but I'm like curious, drop in the comments, do you feel like you are also moving through things for like your ancestors and for your loved ones and like for people that you've never met before? And right, if you don't want to, ask the universe. If you can opt out, maybe there's a little box that you can check. I don't know. Maybe we checked it on the way in, and maybe my soul was like, "Yeah, sign me up." I don't know. Do
I
you
think
have that feeling, Jessica?
yeah, I think it's a little bit of all of it, I do feel like I'm doing a lot of healing for the collective and for the ancestral. And I feel like for me, when I move through a lot of my own stuff, like then that started being part of the healing journey. Um, and it's something that I move through. So some days I'm like, can't do it for anyone but me today. Like I can't do it for anyone but me today. So I can't accept that today. And I just send that out to my guides like I really don't have the space for it. But then there's other days where it's just like all I feel is love and it's like, you know what? I can take this on. It reminds me of, in Buddhism there's the idea of the bodhisattva. So the bodhisattva, stays here and is helping and is suffering for humanity and it's like, oh, this toothache I have, may I have all the toothaches for everybody in the world? May I take on all the suffering for everyone in the world and process that through my being? And there are some days where I feel like that, like, yep, I'm having this annoyance or this frustration or this pain in my body, and I can open to moving this energy for everyone. And there's other days where I'm like, I can't. I don't know that I can, like, it's hard showing up for me. So I think that that's where it's like, it's okay to just say, I can only do me right now. And the collective, like, I can't do the collective, like, sending that energy back. I'm going to be in my own divine line, working with my body, my being, my higher self. Like, this is where I can. And removing all that other stuff, like ancestors, I'm handing this back to you. So it's okay to say, I'm handing it back to you for you to work on. Collective, I'm handing it back to you for you to work on, and I'm doing me today. So I will say, like, we have that choice. And there's other days where we can say, like, yep, I can work on this collective grief because obviously it's showing up because there's a little bit of a piece of it for me, but there's a lot more momentum behind than just me. And I can show
Mhm.
up for that. I can process that. So being open for where are we? Like where is that toggle for us? And it may be like, yep, I can take a belly full or no, I can't. And just saying that. And then also asking for help, whether it is what's happening to us right now or to the collective, like, okay, angels, I need help with this. And standing in grace with ourselves. Because for me, I found whether it is my own suffering, whether it is somebody else suffering, whether it's the collective, whether it's the ancestral, the momentum of the ancestral, like if I can be in the space of love and just send love in my body, send it down through my ancestral roots, send it out into the greater collective, like that's where it's like I'm sending out grace, I'm sending out love, and it transmutes it. So it's for me, it's all about transmuting and alchemizing energy. So what do you do with this heaviness? Send it love. Like just send it the energy of love and expansiveness. Just send it, grace. And then sometimes it's just sitting with it. Like, oh, the energy feels like I just want to sit with it and allow it to be. So that's where kind of wrapping it up again. If we move where the energy is, In this moment, like I feel it and it's like, okay, I just want to expand with it, or I just want to be with it. Like, where is the energy moving me to be, to presence? And that's where it becomes this intuitive dance. It's playful. It's like nothing is ever the same. It's always going to be different. And how can I show up? So at what level am I able to show up? And what can I bring to the table? So it's like, okay, well, I can come to your house, but I don't have nothing to bring. I've been driving by, like, can you stop by? Yeah, but I don't have anything. Or,
Mm,
hey, I've got all this amazing like veggies and sourdough bread, and I've got so much and I want to share it with the world. Like, wherever you are, just show up with what you have. And that may just be you, and that's okay.
yeah. I think that's a lovely note to end on. How do you feel?
I love it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you all for joining us. Sending you so much love, whatever it is that you're experiencing right now. Yeah, we see you. We understand. You're not alone. All the things that I think we all need to hear sometimes. Thank you for joining us. Please drop in the comments, share with us what your anything that resonated with you, anything that came to your heart as you were listening. Share with your friends. Yeah, you know where to find us. All the details below. Yeah. Anything else, Jessica?
No, we love you
All
all.
right.
Lots of love. And until next time, thank you for joining.
Bye.
I can see the stars align, dance around the moon every night. And now my eyes are open wide, and the sky has never looked so bright. Now I don't need to see the road to believe